Hi, so for those of you working in the computer hardware industry, you know that there's really one phrase that sums up the whole industry, which is, it is fast, extraordinarily fast. And one of the best examples of this is really the iPhone, in which case we've had so many different versions in a relatively short period of time. And consumer demand for these iPhones and changes in the latest version of these iPhones is just extraordinary. So when it comes to dealing with computer hardware from a tax perspective, you're really looking at, something similar to the issues that we were facing in the semiconductor industry. And to a certain extent, semiconductors are computer hardware because you're dealing with tangible personal property in terms of that chip that is being put together. So certainly the same issues are surrounding just general other areas of computer hardware in terms of you have, got this really huge focus on R&D. R&D is just paramount because you're always looking for the new idea, for the latest version, for the upgrade. So it really entails extraordinarily large amounts of R&D, and so certainly in order to look at it from a tax perspective, you need to understand all the R&D related implications that company is going to face. Also, it's very cyclical. The hardware industry is very cyclical in nature, much like the semiconductor industry, this boom-bust mentality. And so you've got to deal with that from a financial statement and a tax provision perspective in terms of understanding, the cyclical nature of the industry and when the booms are going to happen, when the busts are going to happen, and how to deal with that from a tax provision perspective, in order to allay the concerns of auditors, of company management, and of course of the street. So it's very critical as well and very delicate situation. And then finally, because this is manufacturing usually, so manufacturing intensive, but there's this need to keep costs down, you're going to have, just like you did with the semiconductor industry, you're going to have a lot of offshore related contract manufacturing. So in that case, you'll be dealing with a lot of international tax issues. It'll be very heavy from an international perspective. But then on the other hand, hardware also has this software component to it, in which case there's oftentimes hardware that's sold with software that's already embedded within the hardware. And how do you account for that software? If you looked at our software related video, you noticed that there are all these different categories and difficulties with respect to accounting for software, and because of the the high-tech changes, all the different changes that are going on, it's very difficult to figure out what that categorization should be. So certainly there is this software component to the hardware component that needs to be addressed, and is often difficult to kind of siphon off, which part of the sale is actually hardware and which part is software. So it's something to keep in mind. So certainly if you are dealing with the hardware industry, just realize that it is quite complex, just from the standpoint that it's changing so much and so rapidly. And again, you're dealing with archaic tax laws that really just can't keep up pace. But you're also dealing with this kind of combination between the hardware piece and the software piece, and how do you delineate between the two, and how do you deal with the two from a tax perspective. So again, I encourage you to review our semiconductor video as well as our software related video, because we go in greater depth as to what those particular tax issues are, which in turn apply directly to the hardware related industry. So if you're working with the hardware industry, a computer hardware industry, then certainly give us a call, or you can reach us at cliftondouglas.com. Thanks so much for watching today, and take care. Bye-bye.